Hey everyone, we're at Computex 2018 at the Thermaltake booth now. So they have 3 new cases we're going to focus on today, along with the Threadripper block, which is a W6 block. Threadripper blocks this year a bit popular, likely because of the impending Threadripper 2 launch targeted for around April. So August. We'll go with that one. So we're going to talk about those today. Before that, this video is brought to you by the CableMod Vertical GPU Adapter, a universal kit that lets you add a vertical GPU mount to almost any enclosure. The vertical GPU adapter positions video cards further back from the glass than most stock vertical GPU mounts, aiding in thermals, and also easily sockets into the Pcie expansion slots of compatible cases. The adapter kit is brand new and makes it easy to show off video cards even in cases that don't include a stock vertical GPU mount. Learn more at the link in the description below. The first case to bring up here is the Level 20 GT, so get the housekeeping out of the way. All of these are branded Level 20. The one behind me is kind of the OG Level 20, got a couple of updates like the paint, and these ones are new, but they follow the same design narrative, we'll call it. So the Level 20 GT right here, the first main thing I want to talk about is the rotatable PCIe expansion slots. So the expansion slots in the back, you can actually flip the bracket and do horizontal or vertical GPU mounts if you want, and it does support multiple PCIe devices when horizontal. Obviously, multi-GPU, not the most popular these days, and yes, obviously you will have kind of thermal limitations at some point, but if you want to do single GPU, which is a bit more common, you can rotate the entire bracket, and because it's a wider bracket and a wider case, you're able to set the GPU back a bit. So this is something that we've commented on a lot in the last year, where vertical GPUs that are not open loop cooled basically suffocate. And by setting the card back significantly from the glass, several inches back, it will actually be able to breathe. Probably horizontal will always perform better, but as long as you're not killing the performance in terms of thermal performance, which chokes the frequency, then it's fine. So we have to give props to Thermaltake there for setting back the GPU further from the glass, which some vendors are starting to figure out now, as that actually will allow the card to breathe a bit. So props there for that. The Level 20 GT is still kind of TBD on some of the specs, but they're looking at a potential $190 option with one 140 milliliter fan, and an alternative is $290. So $100 delta there. Let them know what you think, I suppose, of the two options. But the $100 extra would be 2 200 millimeter fans in the front and then a 140 millimeter fan in the back, all RGB, I believe, of course. You wouldn't have it any other way these days. So 200s in the front, there can be 2 200s in the top as well. And then in terms of airflow, this case is probably a little bit more concerning than the others. I guess it depends on what you're going for. If you're going for an open loop, you can kind of hand wave some of that stuff. In terms of air cooling, so there's a radiator mount where typically your hard drive cages would go back in the old days, and radiator mount there, it exhausts basically straight into a glass panel. Not the best, but for the front, there is a bit of a cutout here. I've asked that they consider potentially cutting back the glass even more, because contrary to what you might think, the View 71, which does have all glass everywhere, is able to cool pretty well, and they're able to do that by making bigger gaps in the paneling. So it is possible to do this look and not suffer for it thermally. This one does need a bit of work, I'll be honest. Need to cut back the glass a bit, and the exhaust for the side mount radiator is really just going into a wall. So bit of a problem there, but otherwise it's a showroom piece, and I do really like the flippable PCIe expansion slots on it, because that is something that is genuinely a bit different and should help with thermals on the GPU if you want a vertical card. So that's the Level 20 GT, as noted, end of July target launch. And not 100% sure on price, but 190 to 290 depending. Also brand new tooling, and then I'll just throw this in as well, 360 millimeter radiator support for mounting rads. The next one, Level 20 XT, so it's just super wide basically. It's kind of like the old W9, if you remember that, or the X9 rather. So it's the Core X9 tooling for this case with the Level 20 XT. And this one is currently outfitted with 2 200s in the front. Thermaltake's not 100% sure again on the stock fan spec. They're trying to figure out what people want, if they want it bare bones and you fill it with your own fans, or if you buy it with fans and use those. Let them know. That's something that a lot of vendors are actually very unsure about. Other than that, so it's got dual power supply support. It is also basically compartmentalized. So they've got kind of a split level going on, where straight across the middle, or about 1/3 up, 2/3 down, there's a tray for the motherboard, full ATX support, and then you can orient the GPU so it faces out of the glass on the side panel. And then separately, the top up here, still kind of being finalized what the radiator support is, but it'll be big. So can fit a lot of radiators, very large size. It's a showcase that looks I mean, it's the size of a fish tank, so you can fit a lot in there if you wanted to do like a super custom open loop or something like that. So that one, level 20 XT, pricing TBD, and Core X9 tooling, end of July target, for 140 millimeter support at the top, so you could maybe something like a 380, something like that. The next case is the level 20 VT. This is the most interesting one to me. This is a micro-ATX case. A lot of you have expressed interest in micro-ATX cases lately, and we saw one at Silverstone. This one's kind of it basically, instead of vertical, they're going with a wider kind of original V21 as sizing for it. So V21, super mesh setup, V1, very mesh setup. This one's just going for glass. They still sell the V21 and the V1, so in terms of mesh, if you want it, it's already out there. So the VT has gone glass on that, and the VT has a setup of pricing TBD, probably July availability for this one as well. Micro-ATX, it is all the paneling, so the glass panels, the glass is attached to steel, which is attached to the chassis. So if you want to invert or change the layout, move the panels to different size, you can do that pretty easily. Just like the V1 and the V21, it's all modular. So if you want one on the other side, you can do it if you wanted to. And in terms of the rest of the case, currently set up for a 200 millimeter intake, probably stock, and then also 120 or 140 in the back, 280 millimeter radiator support in the side. And thermally, they've got a bit of a gap on the side panel closest to me on the right side of the case for airflow to exhaust out from the radiator. So they're doing the most you can with glass, I guess. Obviously, we love mesh options. I guess the argument is if the V21 is still out there, they have a mesh option already. So that's kind of the argument against that. But the front, they've cut back the glass as far as they can, so it does have a decent amount of side intake. I'd love to see some more by either setting in the curves on the borders or setting out the glass. I think you kind of sacrifice the looks there though, so not the best approach if I were designing the case. But if you have ideas, again, let them know. And then finally, there's one more case. So this one is still prototype phase. It's the A500. If you haven't had enough 500s to remember, H500, H500P, H500M, H500, H500i, then they have another one. It's the A500, also 500D, I should note. 500 is a very popular number this year. So A500 is an ATX case, new tooling, 360 rad, top and front, power supply shroud is included, $229, probably the target, with 3 fans, no LEDs on those, and they're considering doing an LED option, but it would have to be more expensive. So a very difficult trade-off to make. You'll have to let them know what you think. Aluminum and tempered glass for the paneling. Absolutely no plastic on the outside at all. No plastic, I think, in the case. So it's all metal, mostly aluminum and steel. No time frame for release. And finally, 2 more things. There's a Threadripper AIO plan. So if you want a closed-loop liquid cooler, Threadripper probably coming out eventually. Don't know any specs on it yet. Threadripper 2 is for August this year, as noted. And then this is the W6 for the for Threadripper cooling. So we haven't seen inside the block, but it is full coverage on the plate, and then I can see the microfins in there. I just don't know where they line up with the dies, but keep an eye out for it. Probably launching closer to Threadripper 2's launch, and that's the Thermaltake booth. As always, thank you for watching. Subscribe for more Computex coverage. We'll have a lot of it. So definitely subscribe. Go to patreon.com/gamersnexus. Helps out directly. Go to store.gamersnexus.net to pick up one of our mod mats. I'll see you all next time.